a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Star Wars. Old Friends, Ephant Mon's Tale. By Kenneth C. Flint, 1995. A short story from the Anthology, Tales from Jabba's Palace. Read by Jim Zeiger. Restored and remastered by the Archivist Publishing.
I saw Skywalker the first time, right after he came into Jabba's palace. He was just a black figure then, wrapped in a big cloak, face hidden by a cowl. Still, there was something about him that raised the hackles on me. That old merc instinct made me duck into the cover of a pile of crates. Not so easy for a guy over 2 meters tall to scan the stranger like a scared range dog. At the moment he was being confronted by Jabba's head boy Bib Fortuna, while a couple of drooling Gamorrean guards stood by. I stared at him real hard. There was something about him that made a funny ripple run through me. All kinds of things were stirring, and I couldn't peg 'em down. Fear? No, not for me. But confusion and wonder? Yeah, them for sure. Anyway, the little discussion between him and Fortuna lasted only a few seconds. Then Jabba's majordomo turned and let him right on in like he'd bought the place. They headed along the corridor toward Jabba's throne room, the guards falling in behind. I ducked back further behind the crates, some impulse still wanting to keep me well hidden. It worked, but only for Fortuna and the trailing guards. None of them noticed me as they went past. But that one in black, he turned his head as he walked by to flash me a straight look. When his gaze met mine, I felt some kind of a power hit me like a gaffy stick butt right between the eyes. I felt an explosion of white energy shoot through me, lighting my insides right to the very core. It riled up things way deep down in my skull. They rose from the black depths like a ripe corpse from a swamp. There was some ugly stuff there, memories of some things better left submerged. But one bright vision gleamed amongst the slime, the green-gold recollection of a land of trees and sun, and that gave me a pang for something lost I suddenly knew I'd loved. I shook my head to clear it of the crazy feeling, and blinked a few times. When I looked again, they'd all disappeared around the corridor's bend. It was too many late nights carousing with Jabba, I told myself. Nothing more. And even though I had a nagging urge to go after them and see if there was more, I shoved it away. I had an appointment, and I was already late. I took off for the garage at my best trot. I found Barada there, as usual, head buried in the engine compartment of one of his pet vehicles, as usual. He always seemed to be working on one craft or another of Jabba's big repulsor pool. I think it helped him forget what a trap his life was. The poor Clodowinian was indentured to the Hutt forever, I guessed. He was too valuable to Jabba. The bloated one was never letting this poor sucker buy his way out. But the guy was still dead loyal to his boss, and dead honest, too. And he was one of the few there I really liked. "How's it going, Chief?" I saluted, slapping him on the back. "Got a machine for me?" He waved around without pulling his head from the craft's guts. "Take any skiff you want." There were a number of the little utility vehicles parked around us, but they weren't good enough. "I need something faster. I'm in a hurry, pal." He pulled his head out this time and turned toward me. His face was set in a scowl, but it was always that way. The personality behind it was very earnest and mostly good-natured. "For you, Mon, okay. Take that XP-38A there." He pointed out a low, sleek-bodied land speeder. "It's as hot as I have, but watch it, steering's real loose." Its steering was as advertised, but so was its speed. I'd made up my lost time when I sailed into Mos Eisley spaceport and pulled up in front of the Lucky Despot Hotel. I climbed out and looked around, taking in the place. Sure, this sprawling spaceport was pretty much a dump for the refuse of the galaxy, but I still liked getting in there once in a while. I'd come from a planet of all open space and light. The closed-in feel of Jabba's pile got to me pretty fast. I took any chance to stretch my legs, such as they were. I walked toward the hotel. The old place wasn't really a building. It had been converted from a beat-up cargo hauler by some investors with more credits than brains. It had never been successful and was open now only as a front for Lady Valerian's operations. Now that whiffed dame was one gutsy customer, trying at big odds to carve out a piece of Jabba's pie right under his, chins. It seemed to me she might just do it, too. I went up the steep outside ramp to the top level where the hotel lounge and casino were. Those two pretty, too smooth humanoid twins, Stern and Danton, were at the front desk and waved gaily at me as I passed through the lobby. They made my skin crawl, and that's a lot of skin. Beyond them, on the left, was the hotel's lounge. I turned in there, hoping for a quick drink before my meat. It had a shabby look, like the whole place did. The rich fittings and fancy furniture had long since worn to third-hand junk, and the lady hadn't spent one thin credit on restoring things. There were a few score assorted beings drinking there. I gave them a casual glance over as I headed for the bar. The only one of note was that weasel-faced Prefect Talmont, the Empire's local stooge. Ineffectual by breeding, slimy by birth, untrustworthy by nature, he sat drinking at a table with some of his officers, taking a rare moment for a laugh. But he sucked that up sharp to stare at me when I came in. I made the bar next to a pair of humanoid-type boys. They were big, beefy, and riding pretty low on the forehead. Manual workers, I guessed, but not from Tatooine. A little too clean for that, and no local smell. The bulb-headed Biff tending bar approached. "Good seeing you, Mon," he greeted. "Here to see the lady?" I nodded. "Let her know I'm here, will you? But first give me an ale, usual brand." "Better put it in a bucket, barkeep, for a mouth like that," said one of the humanoids, and they both guffawed. "Yeah," said the other, and to me, "Hey, face guy, how'd you even get a drink to your mouth with those arms?" I ignored them both. Waiting for my drink, I gazed across the bar's top at my reflection in the dirty mirror behind. I suppose that to these oddly built humanoid types, I did seem mostly a long face sat on two stubby trunks of legs, and maybe my thick arms didn't seem capable of reaching to my mouth, but for achieving I'm considered a decent specimen, or I was. Admittedly, I've put a few more wrinkles on the old snout, but it's seen a lot of hard wear over the years, being shoved into places it likely shouldn't have been. Besides, beauty's relative in the galaxy, and most seasoned travelers respect that. These two jokers must have been greener than a moisture boy as well as bad-mannered. "Hey, ugly," one of the two persisted, giving me a shove. "We're talking to you." This time I turned around to him. "You bantha fodder looking for trouble?" "You're sure not going to give it to his face," he sneered. "You're asking to buy the Dap boy," the barkeep warned him. "That's Ephant Mon. The other broke in. "He's a big talking head with too much face. Watch me carve him a bigger nose." I saw the broad knife flash into his hand. I jerked forward, slamming my forehead down on top of his skull. A Chievan's top knot is like iron. A humanoid's skull isn't. It cracked like an egg, and he went down hard. The other idiot still charged in, dragging a blaster out from under his coat. My vibroblade was faster. I had it out and into his chest before his gun cleared holster. He made the final jump before he hit the booze-stained floor. The officers with Talmont stood as one, hands going to their guns, but the prefect waved them down. He got up and strode casually over to me, looking at the bodies sprawled together on the floor. "Well, well, my dear Ephant Mon, you've freed 2 more tormented souls, I see." "Speaking of seeing, I'm surprised you recognized me," I told him, slipping my blade away. "Can't mistake your style," he said, peering squintily at me. He was pretty short-sighted. "No complaints for ridding me of some riffraff?" he said lightly. "Certainly not. We've no place for them." He eyed me more curiously. "But what about you? Come here on some business?" "Just a drink." "Really? Surprised your boss Jabba let you off the leash." "No one tells me when to go or when to come, including Jabba," I said sharply. "I'm a free agent." "So I've heard." He sounded skeptical. "Nobody understands why." "Too bad," I said bluntly. "Most intriguing," he mused on. "Someone like that would be in a position to take great advantage of the Hutt." "I don't take advantage of my loyalties, Talmont." He colored at that shot, but before he could answer, the barkeep approached. "Ephant, Valerian says to go on back," he announced. He gestured to the dead bodies. "I'll take care of things here." "Thanks." I turned to go. "Seeing Valerian, eh?" Talmont called after me. "Did you mean what you said about loyalties? She is Jabba's rival." "If you're so interested in intrigues," I tossed back to him, "why don't you talk to Tessic?" I didn't even have to look around to know I'd scored with that one. I could hear his surprised gasp. A short corridor from the bar led into the casino. Of course, it was only that in name now. Jabba had blocked all the ladies' attempts at getting a gambling license, so these days it wasn't much but a dining room, deserted at that hour. Once it had been a classy place, with a holographic star display on the ceiling, and exotic fish in porthole aquariums on the outside walls. But the display was shut down, and most of the tanks were lifeless now, and the empty tables with their threadbare tablecloths looked pretty forlorn in the half-light. I went through the door in one wall and into a little office. Veneton, Valerian's scrawny and strung-tight human assistant, ushered me right on through into her office. It was a stark place, no useless decoration for that lady. The boss herself sat behind a big desk in the room's center. Lady Valerian was a pretty young whiffid. Hell, a pretty young anything, to be running so big an operation. But when you saw her, you weren't surprised. Her presence was considerable. Her massive bulk filled up the chair dominating the room. Her tusked face and glaring gaze were fierce. Yeah, she had a pretty big face. Maybe a little like mine. Maybe it's why she'd taken kind of a shine to me. But her big interest was in my connections. "Well, Lady V," I greeted. "How's it going?" "Lousy, as usual," she said in a deep growl of a voice. "Look, let's neither of us waste time in pleasantries. Have you thought any more?" "There wasn't a need to," I said flatly. "You know what I think." I can't believe you can stay loyal to that rotting pile of fodder after what I've offered you. Sorry. That's how it is. I'll tell you how it is, she snarled, rising. She moved out toward me, body taut with anger. The Hutt bucks me at every move. He wrecks my operation with sabotage, sicks the lawhounds on me, steals my business, sucks me dry with payoffs. She came up almost toe-to-toe with me, meeting my eye threateningly. Since she's as tall as me and a lot bigger built, she made a pretty good threat. So here I've got a chance at getting someone on my side, and he turns me down. I don't like that, Mon. I stood my ground and answered coolly. I was hoping not to fight you, Valerian. I thought we were friends. Seeing I couldn't be intimidated, she sighed and stepped back, dropping the tough act. Okay, you're right, she said resignedly. I won't try muscling you. But look, she tried more reasonably. He will fall soon. You can't deny that. If not from my pushing, then from someone else's. Don't you think I know? I told her. I've already got an idea Tessik's up to something, with Regis and a few others helping too, and I'm pretty sure Talmont's been cut in on the deal. I try to warn Jabba of plots when I find them, but I can't find them all. Then why not leave him? She cajoled, putting a hand on my shoulder. We could have a beautiful deal together, you and I. We're alike, aren't we? Both fighting our way up from nothing. Maybe. For you it was nothing, I answered. For me it was different. Somehow her words had pulled up a memory again, and I was seeing the sunlit, wide grasslands of a planet far away. It was something, all right. I had something. Simple, maybe, but clean, open, and honest. Funny, but I haven't thought about it for a lot of years, but twice today. What? She asked, dropping her hand and stepping back to eye me questioningly. Realizing I'd slipped off into a weird reverie, I jerked myself back. Oh, nothing, I said sharply. But look, please just believe me, Valerian. There's a knot tying me to Jabba that no money or promises are going to cut. She looked hard into my eyes and nodded acceptance. Okay, she smiled. I should call you my enemy, but I can't. No hard feelings. I smiled too. None. Well, I'd better get back now. Been gone an hour already. I turned to the door. Just remember, she called to me as I went out, if you do survive the fall, you can still come work for me. When I went back through the lobby, the dead meat squad was coming in to scrape up the stiffs. Talmont was there, and his squinty gaze followed me out. He was worried now. Both suns were high in the sky when I got back to the palace. I came into the throne room to find the place in an uproar. Seemed I'd missed quite a party. I'd already gotten part of the story from Barada in the garage. All about how that guy in black had been in cahoots with that other bunch out to rescue Han Solo. How he'd claimed to be a Jedi named Skywalker and had threatened the Hutt with being destroyed. How he'd killed Malakili's pet Rancor in the pit, and how he was now cooling his heels in the dungeon, along with Solo and that Wookiee we'd caught before. Soon they would all climb aboard the sail barge and head out for the great pit of Carkoon. I moved through a bustling throng headed for Jabba's throne. He was blithely pulling away at his hookah, giving proprietary tugs at the chain of that captured woman who'd replaced poor Ula. But I was hijacked halfway there by Tessik, one of Jabba's least trustworthy lieutenants. The Quarren was nervous. Every appendage on his head was twitching. He pulled me aside and talked in low, quick tones. Have you heard what happened? I heard all about it. All, he said. But I'll wager you do not know this. His voice dropped lower, taking on a confidential tone. I checked on this Skywalker. I believe he truly is a Jedi Knight. Though intrigued by this, I didn't show it. So what? There is more. I used my contacts to check the Imperial wanted lists. All our prisoners are on it, even the 2 droids, and they are considered most dangerous. Dangerous to the Empire. I think to us, too. These people destroyed the Death Star. This Skywalker fought Darth Vader and survived. Why would they come here and so easily be caught? Unless it is on purpose. What purpose? To destroy Jabba. I believe. Wait. He had spotted that wretched little vermin Salacious Crumb creeping close around, and he took a kick at the being. Crumb gave a high-pitched cackle and scampered away. "Filthy scum," Tessick said with disgust. "I am certain it spies on me. Anyway, I believe there is an alliance plot afoot. Their forces, no doubt, wait now to destroy us when we are most vulnerable." "You really think they set this all up just to get the Hutt?" I asked. It seemed hard to believe. "I do, and I want you to warn Jabba of it. He will listen to you. You are his most trusted ally, maybe his only friend. You must tell him." Noting that Crumb was still watching us keenly from the safety of an overhead fixture, Tessick broke off here and wheeled away. He left me staring after him in deep thought. His story was pretty far-fetched, and I was sure he was up to a few tricks himself. Still, there was something about that black-dressed man I'd seen, something powerful. I decided I had to see this Skywalker myself, close up. Before I'd talk to Jabba, I'd talk to our Jedi Knight. In the lower corridor to the dungeon, I ran into Reese, quarter-rate scam artist, sometime killer, and all-around plug ugly. The 3-eyed Gran was stinking drunk as usual, and it didn't make him any friendlier. I wondered what he was doing creeping around down there at this hour, and he sure didn't seem glad to see me. "What are you doing down here?" he demanded, sticking his drooling goat face up near mine. I shoved him, and he staggered away a few steps. "Going to see the prisoners," I told him, moving past. "I'm doing it for your pal Tessick, too." He went after me, grabbing my arm to jerk me around. "What do you mean, my pal?" He slurred his words. "What do you know about us?" "Why?" I fired back. "What should I know?" "Don't give me that," he cried in drunken rage. "You know." "I'll make you talk. You—" He started to pull a blaster. My hand shot up, open-palmed, into his chest, and I shoved him back against the wall hard. In his condition, he could only struggle helplessly, my big hand pinning him tight. "Now you'll do the talking," I said in my hardest voice. "I'm tired of this sneaking around. What's Tessick up to?" "Go to—" he gasped out through constricted lungs. I leaned harder. "Tell me or get squashed right now." His chest cage creaked with the pressure. He gasped, his 3 eyes starting to bug out. Okay, he said in panic. "Tessick's got a plan. Deal with the Empire. Gonna raid." His breath gave out and he sagged forward. I pulled my hand back and let him slip unconscious to the floor. So there was a plot, and the Empire was in on it. Well, Jabba would have to be warned about that, but first I had to satisfy my itch to see this supposed Jedi. I reached the dungeon, signaled the guard there to move away, and slid open the barred window in the cell door. Beyond, I could see the 3 prisoners huddled together in a far corner. The captured Wookiee was cradling the still-recovering form of Han Solo, while a blond human dressed in black stood by. But the one in black turned right away and came over to the door, peering out through the little opening at me. "You're the one called Skywalker," I said. He nodded. "And you? You are a friend of Jabba's," he said in a voice as calm as if he were on vacation here. "The name's Ephant Mon. I'm one of his associates." He shook his head. "You are much more. I can feel it in you. You are his true friend, and he is yours." "Not a bad mind-reading trick," I said, impressed. "Maybe you really are a Jedi." He ignored that. "You can talk to him," he went on more earnestly. "He listens to you. He'll believe." "Believe what?" "That he's in danger. Listen, you can still save him. If you are his friend, convince him to release us. We mean him no harm. But if he persists in trying to harm us, I'll have no other choice." "So you are going to destroy him," I said. "With what help?" "No help," he assured me. "Not beyond us." Though that sounded impossible, I found myself believing. I couldn't help it. That he could do exactly what he said was in the cool sound of his voice and the sure look in his eyes. Still, it didn't mean I could just buy in. "Maybe you've got the power to do that. Maybe not," I hedged. "It doesn't matter. Even I can't make Jabba let you go if he doesn't want to. It's impossible. One of his hands shot out through the opening so fast I couldn't react. It took a grip on my shoulder and hung on, while his eyes fixed hard on mine. I couldn't break away. I was suddenly paralyzed by that probing gaze. If he'd wanted to kill me, he could have, but that wasn't what he wanted. I felt like some energy current was surging into me from him, crackling through my whole body. 1,000 time-dimmed memories were lit up all at once. Images of my past life flashed by like I was a drowning man. I saw my own childhood with my parents' clan. I saw myself growing up on my home planet's vast plains. I relived the beauties of a time when I had once reveled in open skies and bright sunsets, freedom and space, family and comrades, and a simple code of honor. I saw it all it had been, all I had left behind. It glowed before me like a paradise. He pulled his hand back, broke eye contact, and the images faded. I stared. I blinked, seeing the reality of dark, wet corridor and prison bars. The ugliness of the dungeon of Jabba's lair closed me in. "You're not evil," he told me. "Not like Jabba. I feel the good in you. You've just come so far from it, and you've lost your way back. Find it now. Help us. Save Jabba." I could try," I said. "I will try. But I still don't think he'll listen." "I understand," Skywalker said softly. "But I don't want to destroy you with the rest. There's still a chance for you if you want to take it. If you can't free us, then don't stay with him. Escape yourself. Find your true life again. And may the Force be with you, friend." With that, he turned away and rejoined his comrades. I went away from him shaken to my core. I'd never before questioned the way my life had gone. I'd just charged blindly ahead. My encounter with this Jedi had opened my eyes. I didn't like what I was seeing. As I made my way back out of the dungeon, I noticed that Reese was gone. But I didn't care about him or Tessic or any of that now. I needed someone to talk to. I went straight to the big docking area right behind the throne room. It was where Jabba's sail barge was kept, convenient for boarding by the bloated one. I knew I would find Barada there, checking the barge's engine for the imminent departure to the great pit of Carcoon. He quit work right away when I came in. The look on my face must have told him something big was wrong. "What's the matter?" he asked me. "It's hard to explain it," I told him truthfully, plopping down on a crate. "Things have happened." He sat down beside me. "Things?" "I saw the Jedi. Barada, I know Jabba's wrong. He's done a lot of things, and most of them weren't good. But this is different. I've got to stop him this time." "Stop him?" He shook his head. "I don't think even you can do that. He's pretty set on getting that whole bunch who came after Solo. They tried making a fool of him." "I know. But if I don't stop him, I think he might be the one who gets hurt." "What?" he said in disbelief. And by what army? Tessik's bet was that the Alliance was going to take a hand. He wanted me to pass that on to Jabba, probably to shift attention from his own plot. But the joke's on him. There's no Alliance reinforcements, but the danger to Jabba's bigger than anything Tessik could imagine. Just from that kid and his friends? It can't be. It can, I said stubbornly. And I'm going to tell Jabba so. He won't like it, Barada warned. You know how he gets. If he thinks you're crossing him, he might just drop you in that pit, too. Okay, I said. I could just let it go and save myself. But I owe him. Enough to risk your life? Why not? He risked his life for me once. Did he? Barada asked with interest. How? I'd always kept this to myself before, but there didn't seem any reason not to spill it now. Well, he and I were partners in a little gun-running scheme way back, right after I quit mercenary work. We were going to liberate a cache of Imperial weapons and sell them to the highest bidder. It was on a moon of Glocka, nothing but a rough chunk of ice. We were pulling out the weapons when an Imperial goon squad arrived. We'd been ratted out by one of Jabba's boys. The rest of our gang either ran for it or bought it real quick, but he and I put up a better fight. He was thinner then, quick and tough and strong. Never seen a better fighter, except maybe me. So we made a stand there, fighting back to back against them all. They came in close enough to smell him. I had to blast some right off his back. In the end, only we were left, shot up bad but alive. It was the weather that tried to finish us off. When night came, it dropped to sub-freezing. I was worse off than him, and not so well insulated, so he saved me, wrapping his own body around me. Not too pleasant a night, but better than turning icicle. By dawn, he was nearly frozen himself. We only made it off that cube, 'cause some of our bunch who had escaped before came back looking for us. I'll be blasted, Barada said in awe. I always wondered why you stayed hanging around here when you could have gone anywhere. Now you know. I've been paying back ever since, spying out plots and scams against the Hutt, covering his tail. I've sent more than a few poor suckers to the Rancor, or Sarlacc myself, but not this time. I still think you're wrong, Barada said. Seems to me you've already paid the boss back, and in spades. You don't have to owe him any more. There's more to it than just that, I said. See, I found out I just can't be a part of all this anymore. That Jedi's touch did something. It revived something in me I thought was long dead. I struggled to explain it to him, but this other reason wasn't so clear to me yet. My people back on Finsioth were hunters and farmers. They were close to the land, to nature. They believed in the Force, in living things, and they worshipped it. But I was too smart for that. I was too good for their simple life. I wanted something more. I thought I'd left all that life behind when I left to go soldier of fortuning around the galaxy. But it's in me, Barada. I found out it's a part of me I can't ignore. And this Force of the Jedi, well, it must be my Force too. I'm not going to destroy it, Barada. I just can't. He listened, then he shook his head and sighed. Sorry, my friend, I don't get it. That's all mumbo-jumbo to me. He got to his feet. You do what you have to, but I think you're crazy. He moved away. Where are you going? I called after him. Back to work. What else? We're heading for the pit in less than an hour. I just hope you'll be a passenger, not a prisoner. I thought it all over as Jabba's court roused itself and got to work loading up the sail barge. When they started to file aboard themselves, I decided I had to make my move. I hitched up my courage and approached the Hutt as he glided toward the landing ramp on his repulsor sled, towing that captured woman who'd become his newest pet by her long chain. "My old friend, you seem troubled," he rumbled out. "I am, Jabba," I told him. "Please don't do this." "This?" he said in astonishment, stopping the sled short. "Do you mean my destroying this scum who tried to cheat me?" "I do. Skywalker is a Jedi." I noticed the woman's gaze jerking toward me at that. She listened with interest. "He is no Jedi," piped up Bib Fortuna, who, as usual, hovered close by, and Salacious Crumb, from a perch on Jabba's tail, echoed, "No Jedi, no Jedi," in a shrill, cracked voice. "This is wrong," I said, not backing down. "Jabba, you have to let him go. Let them all go." "I think Mon is up to something," Fortuna said, eyeing me suspiciously. "Jabba, he must be in league with them." "I am trying to save your life, Jabba," I argued. "Look, you know no one's more loyal than I am. You know I've always warned you about danger. I can tell you all about another plot right now. But it's not important. Nothing else is. Not Tessic, not Valerian, not even the Empire. Only this is. It's bigger than us all, Jabba. It's the Force." "That foolish religion means nothing to us," Fortuna cried indignantly. "The mighty Jabba can show no fear of anything, including Jedi Knights." "He is right, Ephant," the Hutt agreed. "And Jabba has spoken. They must die." "Then I can't go with you," I told him with force. "I can't be part of this." "So you defy me?" he bellowed. "I should kill you for that." "I know." I met his eye without flinching. "I should," he growled on. "But our old bond stops me. It buys your life, but that is all it buys. I thought of you as my true friend, Ephant Mon. That friendship is ended." "You can't call it over," I shot back. "I can. Barada is right. I've repaid my debt to you 100 times over." "Repaid?" repeated Jabba, and a tone of regret came into the rumbling voice. "I swear it was real, and I swear I'd never heard the like of it before." "Then it was never more than a debt to you. I am sorry for that." He turned away from me and glided on toward the sail barge. The rest of his court followed. The captive woman stayed gazing at me in a bemused way until a jerk of her chain forced her to follow her master. "It was more than a debt," I said after him, but in a quiet voice that no one heard. "Goodbye, old friend." Jabba and the others disappeared into the barge. After them came a pack of Gamorrean guards prodding along Skywalker, Han Solo, and the rest. As the Jedi went up the gangway, a pang of worry for him shot through me. Did he and his friends really have a chance against the Hutt's cutthroat crew? He must have sensed my emotion, because he turned right then and flashed a calm, confident little grin at me. It told me I did not have to fear for him. I watched the last of them enter the barge. I began to think about what I should do now. There'd still be room in Valerian's operation for me, but that didn't seem right anymore. The sail barge rose on its repulsor lifts in a flurry of dust, turned, and sailed away, fading quickly to a dot on the vast horizon of Tatooine's gray-brown wastes. Another greener landscape came into my mind. I knew where I should go now. It had been made clear to me. I had to go home.